running, I like feeling empty. When I'm lifting, I don't like feeling empty. It feels less strong. But I weigh the same. Haven't gotten big and muscly as a result of years of squatting and deadlifting. Like in 10 years it should happen, yeah? If I haven't gained a kilo in 10 years, I'm obviously not doing it to get heavier. The efficiency is because we only have so much time to put into our training. We have other things going on in life. So if I want to get the most return on my workouts, I want my workouts to be efficient. They just get the job done, I go. If I want it to be effective, I want it to give me what I'm trying to get. If I want to get bigger, I have to do what bodybuilders do. I got to work in the 20 to 30 range. I'm talking to a bodybuilder. This has happened 3 times now that I've had the lovely opportunity to talk to really huge men. I don't spend much time with them. I don't desire to be really huge. I think it's kind of silly, but it's what they want to do. It's their thing. And the temptation to ask them, how much can you really lift, is, I almost can't stop myself. You're massive. How much do you bench press? And they've all answered the exact same answer, which is funny because I've asked 2 farmers, one farmer, how do you grow these amazing melons? And another farmer, how do you grow these astonishing tomatoes? And both of them gave me the exact same answer. They said, I give my plants everything they want. I give my plants everything they need. They use the same words. And the bodybuilders, when I say, how much can you bench press? They always answer the exact same thing. They go, I'm not that strong. And they don't even give me a number. They just go, I'm not that strong. So I don't know any more than I knew before. Except they know that they're not strong. But in your mind, in all of us, our mind is, oh my God, they just must be monsters of strength. They're not. They're monsters of size. They trained for size. And they got size. And they cheated, they used drugs. But they trained for size. And until we realize that difference, some things aren't going to work like you want them to. You'll end up being a little disappointed. You want to gain size, train like a bodybuilder. And so the phrase that you're going to use, over and over is, if I can't, and if I can. Okay? And it doesn't matter whether we're strength training or bodybuilding training, or we want a little bit of both but not a lot of either, and we're coming into the middle somewhere because we would like to get a little stronger, but we really want to get a little bigger. So I'm going to be in the 12 to 20 range, and I'll get a little stronger, but mostly I'll get bigger. Or I'm in the 5 to 8 range, I want to get mostly stronger, but I wouldn't mind getting a little bigger. You know, we can play with it wherever we want if we understand the rules of the game. If you don't understand the rules, then you're in the gym, and I watch people and they go, well, I do 10 of these because it's really good for my posture. That's my strength training. I do 10 of these, I do 10 of whatever, I do 10 of something else. And I go, why do you do 10? How many of us have fallen to 10? Like 10 is a cool number to shoot for on lots of exercises, right? 10. And I go, why do you do 10? And they go, 10, they don't.
It's satisfies you.
Something, yeah, 9 would be a bad place.
It's like too little, 9
Yeah.
feels like it is too
9
much, right?
10
And
is
doing more is like too
Too
much.
much.
It's psychology.
There's nothing wrong with 10, but it's not strength training. You're really not challenging your strength for the first 5, 6, 7 reps, because if you were, you'd be done by then. If you can make 10, it's not strength training. I go, could you make 11? You go, oh yeah. Could you make 12? Yeah. Do you think you could make 15? Maybe. You know, so why do you stop at 10? Oh, there's something very satisfying. I made my 10. You know, you just get up and you go, and you don't even find out how. You don't even know. Like, could I do 14? Could I do 15? Whatever the number would be. Where would failure happen? Is there a psychological benefit or deficit to failing the last one? Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Different people react differently to failure. You know, they'd much rather just succeed. And I'm not saying it's open to conjecture and individualization. But if I want to get bigger, I'm going to train in the 20 to 30 rep range for whatever exercise, for whatever muscle. Whatever muscle group I want to stress, it's going to be in the 20 to 30 range. And if I can't make 20, then the weight's too heavy. The resistance is too great. It could be body weight, it could be rubber bands, it could be, bar and weight. But if I can't make 20, it's too hard, and I won't be able to get into the bodybuilding range. But if I can make 30, then it's too easy. And I'm going out. Is there bodybuilding value in doing 35? Sure. 40? Yeah. 50? We're getting into diminishing returns. I'm doing 50 reps. The likelihood is it's not bodybuilding.
What is it then?
You're getting into the next thing. There's many things. We can look and name some of them. If we start out with strength and then we go to size, what happens?
Endurance?
No, we're nowhere near endurance. We're nowhere near endurance in terms of what Grant does. But we are in terms of endurance in what we would call muscular endurance. We're painting the ceiling.
Yeah.
Right? And now we're going, say, 50 to 500. Could be muscular endurance. But then we get to 1,000. And we're out of muscular endurance. Wow. Wow. Thank you for making all this effort, Matthew, and all this sweat. So, when we get up into a higher range, what happens when we go from 1,000, what is that, 1K to 10K in repetitions, not in distance, but in repetition? What happens when we go from 1,000 to 10,000? What are we doing then? What kind of exercise is that?
Ironic or?
Yeah, that's cardio, isn't it? You're running a couple of miles, you're cycling, a lot of repetitions, you're you're starting to go thousands of reps, thousands of strides. And then you can go past that into what Grant does. He is cardio fit, but he's not doing cardio exercise when he's running for 36 hours nonstop. He's not huffing and puffing. You can't be out of breath for 36 hours nonstop. It's not that intense. You can't keep that intensity for that much time. And so we start to go from let's say from the 100 1,000 repetitions to the million repetitions. That's what Grant does now. And now we're into pure endurance. Ooh, that's a lot of reps. It's a whole lot of reps. And in each one of these different types of workout, if you can't or you can, you get into the zone, you get out of the zone. If you can't make 100,000 reps, you can't be doing pure endurance. You're still working in some cardio phase. And I purposefully have a gap between each one of them, where you get a little of this and a little of that. You get if you're working in here, you get a little of this and a little of that. By the time you're in muscular endurance, are you getting any stronger at all? Yes, but barely. So a guy by the name of Frank, I want to say his first name was Frank Cooper, wrote a book, 1969? You guys can tell me when you're looking up that other thing, you can look up when Frank Cooper wrote aerobics. You ever read the book Aerobics? But you've heard the phrase. It's available for sale on Amazon for sure. Aerobics. So I think he wrote it around 1969. It doesn't matter when he wrote it. It could have been 70. And single-handedly, with one book, pretty much is responsible for the fact that you see runners out on the street. Because before that, you did not see runners out on the street. It's called a craze, and Frank Cooper is responsible for the running craze with his one book, Aerobics. I promise you, before 1969, you did not see runners on the street. The only thing you saw was some cross-country harriers, kids going out for a long run. And other than that, you saw they were just high school kids, whatever they call them. Nobody else ran out for any reason ever.
Is that the guy who did this 1 mile running regime?
12-minute.
Yeah, the 12-minute thing?
Yes.
Yeah, I read that book and tried it. Yeah.
And in his book, he firmly declares that when doing strength testing on his runners, that his runners got a teeny bit stronger compared to the control group of non-runners. Would that make sense? Yes, it makes sense that they're doing 1,000 reps or 2,000 reps and they're going out for a 12-minute run, and as a result of it, they're here, but they got a little bit of strength. They got a little bit of size. They got a little bit of muscular endurance, but they were really focusing on their cardio. And they were working towards developing endurance. So when they got to where they could run a 5K, they started thinking maybe they could run a 10. And then they could run a 42. And then they could run a 100. And, right? And it just, this is how our capacities develop. This is how the body develops. And we want to be in those zones. For efficiency and effectiveness, if you want to gain weight, you want to gain muscle mass, you train in the 20 to 30 range. Increase time under load by doing more sets and more exercises for the same muscle group. So I go, okay, I've got this muscle group, I'm going to do this. I've got this muscle group, I'm going to do this. I've got this muscle group, I'm going to do this. I've got this muscle group, I'm going to do this. Right? And there's all different, I'm going to do it this way, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to keep stressing this muscle group, it will grow. This is the biggest area for muscle. This is the biggest muscle. This is the biggest, it's got a quad, it's 4 of them. And between this and this, if you want to gain some weight, get this and this bigger. If you make this muscle bigger, it's not going to gain much weight, right? So you work, you say, okay, what are the biggest muscle groups? They're here, they're here, they're here, they're here. This is much smaller. This is much smaller than what's on your legs. You know, this muscle is smaller than this muscle in design. But the guys in the gym are working on this. The guys who want to get bigger work on this, because this is a bigger muscle to begin with. You get the triceps bigger, and you put, those are the big muscle groups, but by the time you're getting down to pecs, I mean, there's just not a lot of, it's not going to handle a lot of, you're not going to gain weight by gaining pecs. Might visibly show, and then you go, am I doing this because of the look? Or am I doing this because of the body image? Or am I doing this because of the performance? Or do I, you know, when you think of why? Well, maybe I want to gain a little bit here. Where do you want to get bigger, Della?
I want to get stronger, Dr. Graham.
Stronger.
And here a little bit.
Oh, and here a little what? Bigger?
No, strength.
Yeah, want to gain strength. And like getting bigger isn't even part of the option, right? So for somebody who wants to get bigger though, you got to be right there. Somebody who wants to get smaller, eat more vegetables. It's just too easy. Want to get smaller? Start every meal with vegetables. It'll cut down on the fruit. Eat a cucumber before every meal. Eat a head of lettuce before every meal. Just eat more vegetables than you do right now. You'll lose weight. It's just so simple. Just keep doing what you're doing with more vegetables. Just drops your calories down a few. Doesn't take much.
One question.
Yeah, because I'm done.
So if I focus on size, for example, and then I'm like, okay, I feel good this size, and then I focus just on strength. Is it possible I will lose the size that I gained, or it stays the same?
If you keep using the muscles, the guys who lose a lot of muscle, like if you look at bodybuilders who are 150 kilos, and then they stop bodybuilding, and they get into cardio, for instance. Arnold Schwarzenegger
Yes,
did this.
yes, thinking of him.
He went from 150 kilos down to 100 kilos. Big difference. Stopped bodybuilding, started doing cardio. It was too late already. He ended up with multiple bypass surgery anyway.
He was operated.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, he was operated.
Yeah.
Making up.
I think several times now he's had
Yeah.
open heart surgery. He's not fooling around. But so the actual hypertrophy, you will drop some of the hypertrophy. Yes. If you keep using the muscles for strength training, you shouldn't really lose much of the hypertrophy. You're still calling on it. You're not calling on it in the same way. But you're still calling on the muscle to keep functioning. If you just stop and go to cardio,
That's another story.
it's too far away from size training. Right? So if we could, this is one step away. But to go 2 steps away, you're going to start losing some of what you had gained. Right? If you were 6 hours a day doing bodybuilding, and then you just cut it down to 10 minutes a day of strength training, yeah, you'll lose some of the size. If it's crazy adaptations, as you said, you don't want crazy, you're not looking for crazy, you just want to get your development back. How did you lose all this muscle mass? Fasting.
Yeah, over the course of time, like, yeah, I did like 5 days fast before on my own, then I did 3-week fasts, which, yeah, I could observe some major loss of muscle tissue.
Technically, you lose no muscle tissue when you're fasting. But you lost the hypertrophy
Mhm.
because all that fluid that was in the muscle isn't being called on when you're resting. And so all of the mitochondria shrink in size because they're just not being called for.
Mhm.
Uh,
So it's not body burning the muscle tissue.
No, you aren't burning muscle until you get to starvation.
Okay.
When you get to starvation, you're burning muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Until then, no. Absolutely
So
no.
I just gotta wake up the mitochondria.
Yeah, and I don't know, when you're at your when you've been at your like ideal weight or maximum weight, what did you weigh?
Well, I've been lean pretty much the whole life.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because what most people find out when they go raw vegan is they tell me they lost all their muscle. And I go, there's no diet that makes you lose muscle any more than there's a diet that makes you gain muscle.
Mhm.
What you lost was you lost your fat. And you lost the excess water that you were carrying. If you lose water from the muscle, it looks smaller. If you lose fat from around the muscle, it looks smaller. But the muscle is still the same size it always was. What you find out by going raw vegan is that you didn't carry as much muscle as you were giving yourself credit for carrying. You're kissing all those big muscles, and they weren't really muscles. They were fat and water. And when you strip you down to fighting weight, we find out that there's not a lot there. I'm telling you, I was 45 kilos at my bottom weight. It's not much. It's not much off of what you were.